Can I be really brutal about what people are wearing?
Cut loose.
Watch this. No way!
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Cookie Jar Golf Podcast. We are wrapping up the 150th Open here at St Andrews. We're in Sounder Clubhouse, the scores, the HQ, Jar HQ for the week. This is going to be the last micropod that we're throwing out.
I think our listeners will be delighted about
which I think will be quite fun.
I think daily pods is a cadence that's probably unacceptable, frankly. But
I'm joined by Sam Williams.
Greetings.
And special guest.
High demand.
Two Pete. It's been hard to get him on. James Day. James.
Hello.
Hello, welcome to the pod.
We've
Thank
not
you.
asked before, James, because you've been a little bit stressed the last few days.
You've been a little bit of a pickle.
I'm
haven't you?
feeling quite tired now. It's been lovely to be here, and I keep having these little moments where I might go and sit on the grass outside or something like that, and just try and really take this in and how brilliant it is. But we have had a number of disasters, and but it has been great, and we've had lots of people here, and I think everyone has enjoyed it, and that's been lovely to see.
Why are you stressed?
I just wish I'd been one of them.
Why are you stressed? What is your involvement in the Sounder Clubhouse?
Well, we always wanted to do something at the Open. We had this idea a while back to try and do like a festival type thing at the Open, and to have really nice camping, and to get bands in, and to do all this stuff. And then we fortuitously fell on the Scores Hotel because one of our investors, our main investor, BJ Eastwood, has bought the hotel, and they got their planning permission. They're going to do amazing things with this place. I think this will be, in a year and a half's time or whatever it is, will be the coolest, nicest hotel in St Andrews. But they were told that they couldn't start building work till after the Open. So when we looked and saw the massive garden, we thought to ourselves we could do that festival thing that we always wanted to do
it's
here.
Unreal. It's unreal what you've pulled off. It's one of the I people ask and stuff, and obviously we've been here all week, so we've been relentlessly signing people in and stuff, and massively flouting.
There's a ticket price, but we have been relentlessly signing people in.
You've probably had your money's worth, haven't you guys?
Well, so we've been staying. Well, that's what's going. I've likened this to Wayne's World this week. It's one of those. You need the madmen in the world. I think we talked about this when we did the Your Eclectic 18, but you need these madmen that sort of go, build it and they will come. And it feels like one of those moments. Like I turned up on Tuesday, and I remember Tom saying to me, James is not in a good space. He's not in a good space. He was stressed up to his bloody eyeballs.
How was all
I
that?
don't know if we've got a bed. And then all of a sudden the crack den appeared, which, by the way, is an insult to crack dens globally at the time. And then we kind of fashioned it into a great room, and obviously you've renovated a lot of the rooms upstairs. But the garden and the shop and the actual core elements of the clubhouse are amazing.
Well,
and we've sort of got into this brilliant cadence over 4 days. So much so that, I just sent Tom a message earlier saying it felt like about 3 years ago we met with the guys.
We had a meeting a little while ago, and it did feel like it was 2019.
Every day has felt like a fortnight recently.
Yeah. Well, it's quite funny because when, like I say, originally the idea was just to do the event, and just to use the garden and have this space really close to the old course. And I got quite giddy at that point, and I literally phoned.
I can imagine.
I phoned my school friends, all my friends from the pub and Highgate Golf Club, and I said, "It's going to be brilliant. We're going to have a massive party, and the hotel's not being used, so we can squat in the hotel. There's 32 rooms. We can all sleep at the Open."
I think the branding people got hold of that one.
And then what happened is, Tom Ettridge and I started to talk about it. Good friend. And we just felt that there was an opportunity to reopen the hotel for a couple of months, and I think that it would have been very hard to do the event without reopening the hotel, just because by reopening the hotel you kind of get the kitchen going and you get all that stuff going. I think we wouldn't have been able to do
snowballs, doesn't it? It's like, well, if we're having that, we're having this. Look, if I'm being really honest, this is not a podcast about your hotel for the week, because there's been far more important things going on outside the links, and we're sat here staring at the backside of the R&A clubhouse with its beautiful blue bins out on display as always, as Jeff Shack would say. But it has been a great place to hang. The Rosé Garden has been a triumph.
I mean, it was a great place to watch it, wasn't it? But I think, the other thing, and I'm sure you've talked about this on all your other podcasts, but, the old course is the sort of shining messiah of golf courses, isn't it? I mean, I know that the winning score was 20 under and everything, but...
Do you think that matters, though?
I really do, because I think that it upholds that sort of belief that people are coming back to, which is that this type of golf course is, really...
Yeah, so par doesn't matter,
but you don't
right?
think the 20 under matters?
No, I don't. And I think that there was nothing... they're going to make birdies because there's lots of par fours that they can drive and the course is bone dry and everything. But you still got that lovely thing of watching them have to hit these very intricate... mid and short iron shots into greens where landing just one side of the hill or the other side of the hill makes such a big difference.
Also playing loads of different shots as well. So, I spent hours and hours on Thursday behind the 11th green. I watched every player, bar Bryson, lay up of that green, put it into a position. It all funnels roughly to the same yardage. And the variety of the shots is absolutely unparalleled.
Yeah.
There's not a single golf course in the world where you would see the elite players choosing that variety. Some of them were putting it from 80 yards short of the front edge. 120-yard putters.
But also, don't forget, it also delivered such a brilliant leaderboard.
Well,
when a course doesn't work is when it delivers a dodgy leaderboard.
This sort of insight. It is incredible.
I mean, the leaderboard, for me, par, in the words of D Square, Dan Davis, par is vulgar, and 20 under par... Yeah, okay, it's a number. They don't engrave 20 under par on the claret jug. They just put the number on there. And
Gary Player puts his name in significantly larger font than the other players.
He does.
But that's another topic for another day.
He does, but they don't engrave 20 under par 1, and they just put the strokes that you shot. And they could make the old course a par 70. They could do it easily. They could change a few bits and bobs, make it a par 70, and then suddenly it's 12 under, and that looks more palatable. But
I actually think
there's
that
no
would
point
work.
but there's no point in doing it. There's absolutely no point in doing it. The only thing that matters is, does it deliver the best golfer, and does it deliver the best climax of a tournament, and does it deliver the best leaderboard?
Yeah.
And it delivered hands down on all three of those things.
In spades.
It consolidates its holiness every time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It really does.
2015 maybe a slight hangover.
Well,
on
yeah,
that one.
yeah. But
2015 not a great year in the Open calendar.
Well, you're getting really salty. Can you just be upbeat about on this podcast?
No, hang on. Well, I think we've got to be realistic. I mean, 2015 was. I don't think it was a fan's favourite. Let's be blunt.
Still salty. But what did you think about?
No, hang on. No, it's quite important context. I think a few people have said to us throughout the last few days is that essentially you get to this point where the winner sort of races away with it before you get to the 18th green, and it feels like a little bit of a fait accompli. It didn't feel like that today, did it? I think it felt like, do you know what? It was real cut and thrust, and obviously Cam Smith played lights out golf, on that turn, made 5 birdies on spin, but it, it really did produce the best champion. Cameron Smith absolutely deserved to win it, and so I think in that sense, it's really easy to try and, it's weird, isn't it? These major championship venues seem to have so much riding on who wins and at what bloody score, but for me, it delivered.
it did, and I've got to say, I'm really feeling for Rory. I just, I did think today was kind of his moment, but also I looked at Cam Smith on about, I think he hit a brilliant pitch on like 3 or 4. And I just looked at him and I just thought,
dialed.
it's his.
His putting is absurd.
Yeah, but don't forget, he didn't putt well yesterday, did he? And he just came out today and just thought, no, not having that. This is mine.
He boxed everything at the start of the back nine.
Yeah. And
it was all going in the golf pit, wasn't it?
And it's just, I think with Rory, a big factor is that he's playing with Hovland, and Hovland's not playing very well, but I also just think with Rory, there's those fine lines with him that just stop him. I thought, he's got a decent Saturday under his belt. I thought he's done, but
well, we sat here. This may have been this morning or maybe last night, but we were talking about. I was talking with a few guys here, and we said it's written in the stars. It's 150th at St Andrews, and Rory's going to win it. And I said, well, look, Rory, statistically, and I moan about this every time we talk about this podcast. No, but Rory, statistically, it may be the first, it may be the second, it may be the third, but he throws in a 70 or 72. He doesn't go 4 rounds lights out. So if you're looking from a statistical point of view, it was statistically more likely that he didn't go a 66 again. And it's just about, you can't just keep going lights out. And Cam Smith threw in a 72 yesterday?
The thing with that, though, mate, is I do think Rory should be able to keep going lights out. I do think Rory is the most talented golfer in the world and the most talented golfer we've seen for generations. You know, and
watching him on the range today was
patient.
Yeah.
No, I just don't think that. I don't think he's polishing himself and he's operating himself in the same way as Tiger would have done. You know, so. Tiger walks on the range, and apparently I didn't even get to go down.
We were on the range with him.
Didn't even get to go down the range this week. But Tiger's still hitting the 9-ball flights, you know, in his warm-up. Bang, bang, bang. Rory doesn't do that. I don't know for sure, but my speculation on this is that Rory stands there, flushes a load of big high ones, and
he was flushing big high ones.
Yeah, but he doesn't.
He was flushing.
He doesn't sort of. Groom himself into being the kind of ultimate golfer like Tiger would have done, and you know, ultimately, having a big ego acts in lots of different ways, and so maybe for somebody like Rory, it makes him a bit more arrogant. I mean, isn't there that story about when he hit driver off the deck in the playoff at Hoylake on the first?
That's me. That's British boys, though. We're rolling back the years here. So Palomine played British
That's
boys.
A bit of a move, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he went birdie, 17-18, leveled the match against Palomine, and I think it was semi-final, might be wrong on this. Gets to the first hole, obviously playoff, which, you know, for anyone that's played Royal Liverpool, huge out of bounds on the right. I mean, you just can't cut the ball. You cannot slice it OB, you know, particularly in that environment. You know, mates just put it down, hit sort of, well, no, in fact, he didn't have the honour, so Roy's just dropped ball straight to the floor, no T-peg, crunch driver, wild cut, out of bounds. Mate puts 5-9 down.
Driver off the deck, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, driver off the deck.
I mean, I like that.
Mate puts 5-iron down. Makes
like
a cheap 4 and walks on and beats him. Yeah. He was 2 years older than him, to be fair. And look, you know, the story's not one of, you know, trying to bag McIlroy, but there's a level of arrogance in that play that actually is quite addictive. And I see that in Cam Smith. And I think it's really easy to say, someone said to me yesterday, it's a brilliantly astute point. They said, I really hope the winner of the 150th Open gets the significance of what they're doing. What we don't want just a crap winner. So easy for that to come from a place of pure conjecture, because you're sort of going, well, okay, so they buy into our brand of golf or whatever that looks like. But do you know what? It actually feels like Cam Smith is due one. It feels like he's just due a win. And
he's been there for
agree.
So
like, nothing would have filled my heart more than watching Rory just, you know, make eagle down the last and get it done. But it really was due to Cam.
But I just feel like our last 2 major winners.
237-footer putts on Saturday or Friday, and then
and he holds and putts today as well.
But the last two,
everything.
The last 2 major winners, Fitzpatrick and Cam Smith. They so tired. They're great winners, because when you see them at the end, you know, I really loved watching Fitzpatrick's reaction at the end. It was sort of pure joy, and the reason for that, I think, is because, you know, he's worked hard. He's consistently worked hard, and he's built up to that point, and they really feel like worthy winners. And I think Smith today was like, he was slightly different. He was kind of a bit wide-eyed and a bit emotionless, and then you could see once he got up to make the speech, it kicked in. But you know, you really
it was
get
almost like me missing my son the other night.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, that was compounding over tiredness with alcohol. But you do get to that point where it's like it just jumps up and hits you, emotion.
Yeah.
Like I've experienced that this week. Just genuinely been away for a week and missed my son, but emotion just hits you.
Yeah.
Out of nowhere.
What's your highlight of the week?
Ooh. From a pure golf standpoint, I'll be honest.
Actually,
the range time, I mean, it's hard following the groups, but it was really good fun watching the range today. And do you know who's a sneaky, solid ball striker?
Who?
Cantlay. So we're there. We've got the TaylorMade Elite in front of us. Massive thank you for TaylorMade. Showed us around
Yeah, we got to
tour
look
truck.
around the table.
Yeah,
Tour
tour
truck
truck was
today.
sick. I mean,
Yeah,
that was
cool.
absolutely sick. But we're there. You got Scotty Scheffler, Rory, DJ. I mean, DJ's just like a pure olive green
By the
silhouette.
way,
just
I'm just going to jump in here. DJ, just to go back to your point, James. After he finished like hitting like solid cuts like all day, just cut, high cut, high cut, high cut. This is what
he was
I do.
playing different ball flights.
He
but it's
then
really
just
knocking him
started
down.
absolutely crunching stingers for a laugh.
He was knocking him around neck high, no
genuinely,
issues.
Forehead high. Like,
But we were sat
take your
there, and
ears
you're
off.
sort of like you're always judging ball strike, aren't you? It's like who's flushing it, and
Yeah.
Rory's going at the left nostril like with a 4-iron. Like I've never seen the ball flight like it. Scheffler, footwork. It's actually not as mad as it looks on TV. It was cool, but it looked a bit. If Rory's taking rashers of bacon out of the floor, Scheffler's taking pork chops. Like it's much steeper. It's a bit sort of. It's much more on top
Is he
of it.
taking?
DJ's just kind of like dipping and just sort of quietly going about his business. But then every 5 seconds, you've just got this like the ground's moving. It's Patrick Cantlay. The guy's an absolute pure
Crunches
flusher.
it.
I thought he was a tapper. Like I thought he was like I thought Till Hatton was like a poor man's Patrick Cantlay. But he's not. It's a fucking flusher.
Tyrrell Hatton is a poor man's Tyrrell Hatton.
yeah.
Great. Well, that's good. That's good for our future.
That's a soundbite right there. But Cantlay was an absolute pure flusher, wasn't he, today?
Yeah, it was like considering they were pretty much all rocking the same equipment. The sound coming off Cantlay, like every time because he was to our extreme right in what we were looking at, which was like I said, Scheffler, Rory, DJ, Cantlay, and we could only have been 10 yards away, and Cantlay, the sound coming off these irons, it was like Christ, he's crunching the ball.
He was
like,
absolutely.
I just
wailing.
like you. I thought he just like it's like we'll get it up there
I thought
and
it
we'll
was
score.
good. Like I thought it was good golf when I've watched him on TV. First time I've seen
Rory
Cantlay
looked
hit the ball.
dialed though. Rory
But
did look
it
dialed.
was imperious ball striking. Look, we can't dominate a wrap-up pod talking about Patrick Cantlay, who was essentially a non-runner by the end. But
Patrick Cantlay stripe show.
Yeah, but it was quite impressive.
It was quite, that was quite interesting.
In hindsight, people are going to look back on this Open and say, well, for a man that holds, boxes over 200 feet of putts on Friday and then makes 5 birdies on the spin on the back 9.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say he doesn't deserve to win it. And
No,
I
he
know that's
absolutely did.
controversial. There's no doubt.
I was
Rory was the
heartbroken.
people's champion.
I was heartbroken that Rory
Bruce
didn't
was
win.
speechless.
I was heartbroken.
Bruce was gutted.
But
that
like,
Rory didn't win.
but Cam Smith deserved to win.
Yeah.
Like he was outstanding. To shoot 64 on a
I
final
was
day of
rooting
an
for
Open
Cam.
is. That's the lowest round. That's the lowest round ever in a final round
by
at the
win.
Open
Yeah.
at St Andrews.
I had a little bet on
Is that right?
Yep.
I had a little bet on Cam at the after the third hole, so I was quite pleased.
So
That's the third hole.
That was a nice. That was
So
enough
I'm
to
going
swing.
to put something on the table here. I think one thing I will say is
What about Cam Young? We haven't talked about Cam Young.
we will do, but
Okay.
golf in America is, I think, to an extent, a bit more predictable. The ground conditions really do dictate performance. Over here, it's like we could have had a really soft few weeks, and I mean, they would have torn this a new one. It would have been destroyed. But this obsession with variance to par, and I know we touched on it at the start, it would just be so much easier if we just talked in round numbers to where they're at. So it's like I would actually prefer, rather than saying 20 under par or whatever, we were talking in absolute numbers. Wouldn't you? Is that an unfair take?
Well,
Wouldn't that massively simplify?
I think at times you're
this
sort of
whole
square,
open
you're
road to
you're sort of
discussion.
square
and-
pegging round holes. Each course has a different relationship with par. It's as simple as that.
So so why do we need that?
Why do we need to put
relationship
this
with par
arbitrary
to
thing?
dictate it?
I think
Yeah.
you're just trying to stir an argument. There's no argument there. Like I'm with you, James. It's like it doesn't matter if the old course gets taken by 20. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if Muirfield, sticks to even because the rough is massive. It doesn't matter. It's just
Well, the
Exactly.
only thing that's a measure of, it's like, well, that's the test case, and the only thing that's a measure of is how well, the game and the equipment is being regulated and blah blah blah. And I know that's a bit of a boring conversation, but I actually think that won't happen now because of Live. To be honest with you, because I think
But
there's more.
golf is I play you, or I play you and I play James and Sam. I play James, Sam, and Bruce, and I'm playing against you, and I'm trying to beat you, and I can try that on a load of different pitches. Essentially, like, we can go and do that. We can go do that up the Scores Road if we chose to, and it's like who can get it in the drain pipe up the score and on the end of the Scores Road and see how fewer shots it takes. It doesn't. It's not about the course. It's about what the course provides to the players that's in front of it.
Correct.
And like you said, the leaderboard showed that it brought out the best players in the world. It was absolutely jammed with bangers up there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Cam Young, you know, he had a tough day, but that eagle, we were down there, we were on the 18th. That eagle up 18 was just like, I know it's tough for him because he jammed that eagle in, and then Cam Smith's got like a couple of feet for birdie to take it, but that then piles the pressure on Cam Smith.
It's utterly insane that you can be one off the. Get your maths right here, Sam. 2 off the lead, going down the last, and you make eagle down the last.
Yeah,
and it just doesn't get it done.
Actually, the other thing I thought
it doesn't matter. Like, it's clearly a 3 and a bit. We've got the RNA stats here. I'm sure you've got them to hand, but you know the scoring average. I mean, it's clearly a bit of a 3 and a bit, and that's why par is just almost irrelevant.
But it's the other thing I thought was interesting. Saw quite a lot of putting from off the green from quite a long way away.
Rory did a
100
100-yard putt today.
Yeah, but we didn't see them hitting many kind of 7-iron chips, did we? I didn't watch a ton of golf, but I didn't.
No.
It was always either like a lot off or a putter.
Yeah.
There's no bump and runs. That's not a thing anymore.
Well, I can't remember what the shot was on 18.
I think it's hard to.
The one
judge.
Rory had on 18. Surely that was a little 8-iron bunty. Shovel bunty, land at bottom of hilly, run up, you know.
Well, you'd think, but I suppose...
We just try to take the valley out.
How do you control the launch on it? It's quite hard to... I think it's got... I've got no short game to speak of and never have done. Well, before I was 18, but... You know, it's quite hard to judge where's your land angle when you've got a 7-iron on the back foot with 40 yards on.
Land angle? What you're about?
Well, just making up as he goes along.
That's what they need. No, but that's what they need. They need to know where they're going to pitch it and at what angle, don't they?
No. You just hit the shot. You just look at the hole, and your subconscious mind takes care of the whole thing. It's a path that's going to go through the air a little bit.
I think you're oversimplifying.
Huh?
I think you're oversimplifying.
Speaking of oversimplification, we had a friend of ours that knows Rory McIlroy, and when he was younger, I think Rory was only about 13 at the time, and he saw Rory chipping around the green, and a friend of ours went up to him and said, I can see you're really good at chipping, you know. Like,
that's great. It's a caddy at County Downs.
Yeah, I see you're really good at chipping. You know, what are you thinking about when you chip in? You know, how do you approach it? And Rory is like a 13-year-old, just trying to hole it.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about how I hold it.
I liked having Shaq here this week. That was really great.
He's cool.
You brought him in. He's great value.
He's a big fan.
There are very few people in the game who just don't seem to have an angle other than just love golf.
Yeah.
Like, I think, in fact, bar none, there is no one else I can think of where he just loves the game that much.
I think he's the Tiger Woods of golf chat.
He is.
the goat of golf chat.
He is. It's just elite golf chat.
He could probably
he delivers it nonsense. He just goes, nah, you know. I mean, we're sat here, and we were stood outside the back of the RNA clubhouse, and he goes, the RNA don't want to hear it, but they got these blue bins out the back, and it's like, it could be so much better. Just put a structure around them, make it nicer. They don't want to fucking listen to my
Did
emails.
the RNA catch
I
light?
emailed them. They fucking hated it.
Did the RNA catch light this week? There was a fire engine outside.
There was a fire engine for a little bit.
I think they might have done a full evacuation.
There's been a lot of things that have gotten away from various venues in here. One of those is shower pressure at the Scores. I've always said there's a great relationship with high quality shower pressure. The shower pressure at the Scores has been surprisingly high.
At times, it's like a water lance, isn't it? It can actually cut you open.
It's like you've got 2,000 Yakuza on the back, just with the mini blades put it in your shoulders.
And there was a rumour that went on around the course on sort of Wednesday night that said that you know, the RNA, they'd lost the fairways. The fairways had got away from them. They were that quick. Well, I can attest to the fact that the showers have got away from the Scores.
Yeah,
they were that.
They'd lost the showers.
They've totally lost the showers. They're so firm and fast that it's actually quite scary. One thing, Sounder Golf is obviously I'm sat here. We're in our peppermint strides actually.
I've got the stones.
I'm so happy with the strides. Like, they are so.
Well, I don't know
good.
if people are just trying to make my glum face look a bit brighter. But
Probably.
Apparently they've been seeing people around the court, quite a lot of people around the course with Sounder
they're
logos
great,
on.
aren't they? They are excellent strides. And the reason I brought that up is, I've got, I'm really happy with this sort of light fabric I've got on here. But fashion in golf, I feel like there's an inverse relationship between quality of venue and player fashion representation. And by that I mean Justin Thomas, sartorially elegant 48 weeks of the year.
There has been some honking clobber on the course, which is what we call it at work. So I think I was quite...
JT shat in the bed this week.
I was quite perturbed by what he was wearing. I think he looked like a personal trainer.
He's a cool dude.
Yeah, I know, but he looked like a personal trainer in a very high-end gym who had forgotten his trainers and had to wear his school shoes. He was wearing the
so good.
He was wearing
That's
the black
sort of
FootJoys.
We need more
the black.
on
Let's just. I'm not trying to put anyone down or anything, and I actually think Grayson is a really nice brand. But this week I don't think it was their best week, because what he was wearing was a pair of sort of black tight tracksuit bottoms with a sort of quite slick dancing polo shirt tucked into them, and a pair of school shoes with no socks, I think. And I just don't think that really works.
Yeah, Richard Mansell, past guest of the pod. Really, really hugging in above the ankle, little sort of sleeveless hoodie. I don't mind the hoodie thing. I feel like Adidas try and get on the soapbox a little bit with this stuff and go, no, it's hoodies, it's cool, we're out there, we're doing hoodies. So that's fine, but then if there's a crosswind, the thing's in your fucking face when you try to swing.
They're all over the place. It's just golfing bandwagon-y stuff, isn't it?
It's
really?
all got a bit bandwagon.
The other one I didn't think Adidas had a great week either. The Dustin Johnson green trousers with green belt.
No, I like that.
I
Today.
didn't mind
the
that.
olive.
No,
I'm
going to push back.
Oh, well, I suppose it takes all types then. That really troubled me yesterday. I actually think that's why
it troubled you, that sort of like solid olive.
It bothered me. I didn't
He looked like, when you go to a fancy cocktail and they put two green olives on a stick. That's what he looked like, top and bottom olive.
Yeah, it looked a bit uniformy to me.
That's why I think we need a sort of a really good...
Cantley's trousers had a high luminescence.
Yeah, they were good. They were quite nice. They were sort of baby blue chino.
No, they weren't baby blue. They were like fluorescent blue. They had a high luminescence.
But I think we need that sort of Stuart Hagerstad figure that is...
What's your obsession with Stuart Hagerstad?
With that sort of career amateur that's quite comfortable in taupe chinos and a high quality cotton polo that might be sort of, cross-hatched or whatever, but with a nice little small logo. Real estate on the players is taken up with so many sponsors these days. It's actually quite nice and refreshing. And Barclay Brown.
Barclay Brown.
It would be remiss to not.
They were selling out of bucket hats.
It shot lights out golf as an amateur in his first ever professional event. To give us, he asked me, favourite moment of the week. To sit there and listen to him say, "No, it's quite cool. I watched Love Island last night, and I'm quite looking forward to Love Island tonight." And him sort of talking about his big ears and sun cream and...
Maybe that could have made our week. We should have just shown Love Island in the evenings on the big screen.
It was so good.
Packed.
It was so good. And it's like...
Just ticketing at the door for Love Island.
Isn't that the brilliant thing of an open championship? The field is wide open. It's not about world ranking points. It's about making it accessible to all standards of player. And I think that was cool. I thought that was a real highlight, personally.
All standards of TV viewers.
Yeah.
But there were some interesting tour bags out there as well, like these major tour bags that they put
I'm
out.
sorry, TaylorMade. I don't know. You guys might say you like it, but the TaylorMade bag was honking.
You don't need to jump in on this. Look, TaylorMade are huge.
I know that you're
huge.
I know. They are supporters.
TaylorMade are massive supporters of the jar.
But why does it have to be brown?
Whether... So, look, there's different approaches to this. Callaway's always look the same, right, don't they? They always look that...
But they had the school thing this year.
Yeah, but it's all the same shit, I think, Callaway. They're always like those little...
This is very brand affiliate, this.
Sort of patterned across with different things, lots of colours. They always look like a pick and mix, the bags, I always think. TaylorMade, there's always a theme. There's a theme that goes there. The only thing I'll say about the theme is they seem to absolutely pull it out of the bag when there's a shit venue. Maybe that's their credit. They knew Torrey Pines was going to be a shit US Open venue. So what they do, they pulled out an absolutely world-class LA vintage look. Okay, the one for the Open, maybe not so much of a fan.
Look,
personal preference, it was a bit of a urine chart, but it looked quite cool.
I used to be a bit of a punter for the TaylorMade tour bags from the majors, and I've got some good ones. I've got a couple here in the hotel, actually. They're in my room. God knows why.
I've been using your shower all week.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, yeah, so you've seen them, and that was I think 2007 Masters. That was a great one. And I just do think that they've lost their way a little bit. Just a little bit. They've all gone. They've got a bit space age on the angles and the materials. I mean, you've seen that old TaylorMade tour bag I've got in the shop, the old white one. That was the first TaylorMade tour bag. That's a cool bag, right?
James, you've played
very heavy.
Yeah.
Can they honestly have that much stuff in the bag that they're not able just to carry a stand bag or a single strap? Do they need?
I think
is there that much stuff in the bag?
Yeah, but I mean, a stitch would cover it.
I think a stand bag would do it.
Well, what would happen? So if you got somebody that was just a really great amateur or whatever, and they qualified for the Open, and they wanted to turn up and carry their Mackenzie with a half set, would they be allowed to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Barclay Brown with a Mackenzie would have broken the internet in woke golf. There's a subsection of the internet that wouldn't have contained their excitement with bucket hats and Mackenzies.
Yeah,
the bucket hat was a strong lot. I think I was chatting with a friend of the pod, and they were saying the bucket hat sales down near the Open, you literally couldn't get one. I'm not saying that Barclay Brown.
No, they were gone on Friday.
Absolutely gone. You sell a lot of them here, don't you? It's at the Sounder Clubhouse.
There was a scramble to see could we get. And I seem to remember a fierce debate. So, we just spoken to Barclay. There's a chance I could get him in a cookie jar bucket hat.
Yeah.
Well, we need to get him a sounder. I said, well, I'm not quite sure about that, actually, James. I think we'll reserve that for whoever gets that.
As it happens, he wasn't interested. He had some really quite elite bucket hats for
We might be digressing ever so slightly. I think before we round this up, it would be remiss not to talk about Hovland. I think Cameron Young not really paid much lip service there, and I think it was a bit of a shame seeing Hovland today. Just couldn't quite seem to get it firing. Personally, would be my take.
I think, it'd be interesting to get what you boys think, but I think if Hovland had gone a little low, Rory would have gone really low.
I agree. I thought we might get a duel between.
Take.
That was I said yesterday. That's the best result, is that we get a duel between Hovland and McIlroy, and I completely agree with you.
I thought it was a duck shoot. I said it up there. I think it's a duck shoot today.
I thought the same, especially when we got up this morning and it was raining. But I don't know. Rory is Hovland's obviously young. It's the Open. Fine. You need to put yourself in that position a few times probably before.
Is there a bit where we're back on Rory now, obviously, because you can't just move from that. But is there a bit of that's the fascination with Rory being this figure that he's got 5 more gears to step into but never does.
Yeah.
And that you want him to, but he just seems to just flat refuse it and keep high revving in second.
I think there's certain players that grab tournaments, and obviously Nicklaus was one and Tiger was another, and it's a bit like when people talk about Jordan Spieth and they say, oh, what a brilliant putter he is, and sometimes when you look at his stats, he doesn't look like he's that good a putter, but he holds the putts that really matter. When there are moments when players change tournaments. There's also I loved listening to that interview with Harrington, when he what year was it when he won at Birkdale? Was that 2008?
Yeah.
So he hit that. I think it was a 5-wood on 17. And when you look at that green, he's hit that 5-wood into a tiny gap. And I remember watching the commentary and Peter Allis kind of saying, it's crazy what he's doing now. But when you saw him interviewed after the round, he basically said, I've played safe, I played sensible to get myself in that position. And I knew that was my moment to win the tournament.
Yeah, and he knew he'd hit the 5-wood.
And that is, that's the thing. That's what makes people win tournaments. It's like Tommy Fleetwood, isn't it? Tommy Fleetwood never seems to grab
out of it. Like there was a lot of irons off tees today. That was quite sad to see. Like he clearly didn't back himself with the driver in hand.
I disagree with that. I think he tried. I think he tried to attack.
I could see. You could see there was a level of discomfort with the dog in hand, and again, you would hate to say about the old, but unfortunately, you had to step up and execute drives.
Yeah.
You can't play the ninth from 140 yards back and maintain scoring average. It's just too bloody hard. It's way too hard. Cameron Young, absolute flusher.
Yeah.
Actually could be a major winner next year quite easily. Wouldn't have to do much. The guy's crushing it.
Yeah. I don't know a lot about him. But look, it's been wonderful, I think. I think we'll look back on it fondly. I hope we will.
Are you wrapping up the pod for us?
It's been nice getting in the sea.
Are we going to talk about Filippo Celli at all? Silver medal winner?
Yeah. I think it's much.
I haven't got much to add there.
Congratulations to him.
All
That's
my
an
chips
achievement
in
in
Barkley
itself,
Brown
isn't it?
this week. I genuinely thought
we were all.
I thought that was the only hope for English golf at that point, and I hope we look back on this and realise the influence Barkley Brown can have on the English game.
I think we're about to go and have another almighty tear-up, aren't we?
Oh, speaking of tear-ups, someone who has a controlling stake in the Sounder Clubhouse was telling me that there might be a cookie jar tear-up.
Well, I think
tear-up in August.
it's definitely not official yet, but it's not far off being official, and the noises are quite positive that we might be able to stay here and operate the hotel for August, which will be joyous.
So what do they do in that case, if they want to stay in the crack den? What do they do?
What you won't have to.
They'd stay in a nicer room.
Oh yeah, well I think what we'd really, it would be a shame not to, wouldn't it? I mean, there's so many wonderful things about this week that, you know, getting up in the morning and sort of just walking across that road and getting in the sea. I mean, I don't know if people know where the Scores is, but we're sat in the breakfast room, and if I look over my left shoulder, I could easily hit a knifed chip and run with a wedge, with no takeaway, and get to those.
You got taste is 50 yards around the back.
We could get to those blue bins that we're talking about. So it's so brilliant.
Unquestionably, the unofficial sponsor of this week, Mirabeau Rosé, has been a champion of the whole.
It's been quite exquisite.
I think we've done 500 bottles, which is good. So, you know, getting in the sea in the mornings and you know, being able to just mess around here, I think we should try and do. I think we would look back on our lives on our deathbed and regret not doing a bit of a sort of 2-day extravaganza where you know, we can come here and hopefully, you know, we might get all the rooms sold. So we've got the whole place, and we can play golf, and we can have dinners, and we'll keep the garden nice. We'll get some fire pits. It'll be tremendous.
Well, James, given this is clearly your podcast, what would you like those people to do? Message you or us or what?
We'll put something out when we've got to figure it all out.
Oh, right, okay.
We'll put something out together.
But people will be quite keen at this point listening to it. That sounds good. Do you want them to message
well, just keep your eye on the cookie jar and the Sounder socials.
Sounder or cookie jar? Who do they message?
They can message you guys. We all work together, don't we?
We do it. We work together. But James, I think
it's been brilliant.
We've run podcasts out of this hotel. We've run Q&As out of this hotel. Eric Anders Lang has been here. He's been doing similar things, and I think we would all officially like to thank you, the Sounder crew, and Tom Ettridge, and everyone here that's done such an amazing job.
Actually,
and absolutely smashing it. Or you can just keep interrupting. It's cool.
Coming and helped you this week from, you know, the university and the people that have helped out on the door and in the shop. There's a huge amount of unsung heroes. Like, you've taken on something here that was not particularly straightforward. This was not a lift and shift. I've taken on a fully functioning hotel and I'm just going to run events out of it.
Yeah.
Like, this was complex, hugely complex. The staff have worked endless hours to your ridiculously difficult specification. You've been an absolute terrible boss, frankly, for the entire week. But it would be remiss not to say what a brilliant job they've done in hosting for what I think is what exactly the game is about. It's memorable events with like-minded people, and it's been incredible. And thank you for.
It's been great. Look, It's been great having you all here, and it's been. We won't forget it for different reasons. But, you know, having you guys at the front yesterday, and Dan walking past with his 8th bottle of rosé as the rosé champion for the year, is just, you know, it's been magical. So thank you very much, and I agree with you. You know, the staff here and the people that have helped us have been amazing. They have absolutely worked their socks off.
I know daily pods are a bit much, so
yeah.
If you've kept up with them,
if you've stuck with it, well
and
done.
If you haven't, then just skip through the ones you'd like. But until then, do you want to say adios?
Adios.
Watch this.